Carl DeGregorio's Session27. Not that I'm much of a numerology dude, and I'm not even sure I'm using the term numerology correctly. The significance of numbers. 27 is a big one in post-adolescence into adulthood, and in sort of a significance in popular culture for the arts. I will kind of hang that. I've even spoken to a therapist who said in a lot of cases, 27 is a demarcation in development. And a couple of significant 27 being the time it occurred, and important to me, and coincidentally, two big influences are Springsteen released Born to Run the album in 1975. I think he was 26 and then going into 27, so on the cusp. So like you can sort of see that at 27, he had that make or break thing where that album had to put him even further on the map, and it did. And so like he sort of became that young Born to Run figure, Thunder Road, all that passionate wall of sound, Phil Spector-esque, guitar driven rock, future rock and roll that happened when Born to Run came out. And so he was 26 turning 27, and many decades before, but also like starting a whole new form of masculinity, and obviously acting sent shockwaves. Now, you'd probably credit his stage debut in Streetcar, but Marlon Brando was younger when it was on Broadway. He was 23, so he was a shot out of a cannon live, but the movie didn't come out till 51. So he was 27 also, again, when he became the reach of film was bigger than the stage, so he became this phenomenal phenom. So, and I kind of link Springsteen and Brando in my influences as sort of brash, codifying that sort of emotionally complex and yet still very masculine man imagery. And they both sort of I'm sure, whether we want to admit it or not, people were, famously quoted line from a John Mellencamp song, "Doing My Best, James Dean," but that James Dean was doing a Marlon Brando. So Springsteen, the biker jacket, all that sort of vibe, you kind of got to lay at the feet of Brando. And then you lay a lot of songwriting and a lot of iconography on Springsteen's doorstep moving forward. And so I bring that up just sort of to talk about 27. But the dark side of 27, obviously, is also those deaths that occur in rock and roll, i.e. Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain. I think Amy Winehouse joined that club. Jim Morrison at 27. Those deaths were, landmark in terms of how different popular music might have been. And so when I'm on my 27th episode, I don't think a breakthrough is necessarily imminent, but the breakthrough is definitely something that has to come from within, has to happen in solitude maybe, or in anonymity. And then, there are no overnight successes and things like that. So although there are overnight receiving of there is overnight awareness placed on certain things. And so again, moving into how I want to fix myself and not fix myself, but how I want to fix my show and rewrite the show. And also thinking about how I think, and they're all different art forms, but a confident song starts immediately, and a confident story starts immediately. And so the idea that you'd ever be able to warm up into how good your pieces. So that's where I'm at. Like, I have to really get it going at the top. And that might mean not being chronologically A, B, C, D, you know? And it just means that if you think, and why would you do this to an audience? I'm going to save the good stuff for later on. Like, you can't assume that you have them at the beginning, that they will, you know, that you will ingratiate on them enough for that good stuff. And why would you ever hold back on that? And that was sort of the ethos I learned, and you hear comedians talk about when you're showcasing and doing 5 or 7 minutes, things like that, maybe 10. You put all your bangers, and you find a best way, because you can't afford to not have it all work. So, and then you've heard comics when they start headlining that they do their closer first, or they do it early so that they're screwed and they don't know how to get off stage. And so, and that forces a fight or flight. It forces you to say, you know, I'm quote unquote burning the ships, etc. That you're leaving no, you should have no filler, essentially, you know. And that's what a 3-minute song is a little easier to sort of make sure has, you know, a 3-minute song has more potential for condensing of storytelling. That's why lyrics tend to be hokey as poetry, because it's a song, it's set to music. You can say more declarative statements with a good melody than you can when your characters are speaking from the heart, I think. And so at 27 episodes in 27, where was I when I was 27? And again, if it's a demarcation, I don't have a clear recollection. I know I was in New York. I know I was working on my play. I know I was probably overworking the play. I think at that point I had yet to have had, I may have had some readings of the play. And I didn't get that play up until, I think 2000. So I was still years away from really, you know, getting it together. I think I was 27. I booked a commercial and joined SAG. So some of that 27 stuff was where I was emerging. But you know, it was also a little bit of a rough, you know, angry young man partying too much in New York. But I did book a commercial when I was 27, and national, it didn't run. So I was getting a little dose of how the business was going to go. You got a high and a low in the same event, you know, but I did get to join SAG. And so that's, now that I think about it and put some of that gauging on it, sure, okay. And that's a good thing to do. Seldom, and I don't know, I have to get out of the past, but sometimes if you revisit the past with a new positive lens in your present, you start to see that there were so many blessings along the way that while you were wallowing in self-pity were ignored, and you know, those were good things that happened to me at 27 and moving and forward. And I guess, you know, having a utopian need for maybe pleasure, or a sense of arriving is all joy. It's really not that. And now I know. So 27, going back to the songs and being able to hit it right off the top, you know, I am actually thinking about, will you know, not wasting people's time. So I have to write a strong open and start singing my song. And also thinking about where things are, where I remember the play I wrote, Knee Deep, I wanted to have a strong opening. So literally the first opening is 3 characters in a bar. One character sitting at a table, my character, and the opening line is, you know, I think it should be mandatory in the United States that everybody do a year as a bartender in the military like they got in Israel. And then the other character says, everyone in Israel's got to be a bartender. And he's like, no, everybody's got to do military service. And so I go into this harangue about how I covered a shift and it was a blah, blah, blah. And I'm putting some of that repurposed dialogue into my one-man show. But my director, who was also very helpful in developing the material, said that's a cool way to open. That it was a conversation in the middle, right? They call that in medias res in drama, that it's in the middle of happening, so that you can decide that your play is not, I woke up and I went to sleep. Your play is, it's fucking lunchtime and something bad happens at lunch. And then, blowing it out even further, this is, Death of a Salesman, he's on the way down. So you don't start at the beginning, you start in the middle of. And, but there are songs that if you think about where you were, I would love to try. My version of fantasy football that I would be interested in would be like to try to be a Clive Davis, like he famous for his golden ears, right? For hearing a winner when he saw it, or it's probably a lot easier when it's someone as talented as Whitney Houston. But a lot of these people picked, the A&R guys picked winners, and I'm sure their batting average is real low. But can you imagine doing that with just untested songs? And there are very few songs that you hear for the first time and are like, holy shit. And one of them, for me anyway, was Hey Ya by Outkast, the Andre 2000 at the times, his side of the Speaker Box double album. I heard that thing in a club and I was like, whoa, that's an instant classic just from one listen. Maybe Nirvana was like that. Dear Mama was another one. Tupac. There's like a few songs that where you're just like, holy shit. Walking in Memphis, there's one where you're just like, that's a banger just from the top. That's a it's hard to remember where the OPP, those kind of songs where you're like hit all day hit. And I'm told, and we've been overexposed to that happened with Born to Run, when people locked themselves into studios and played it, and the sort of leaking it, I think, in Cleveland or whatever. And so, those, I wonder how good your ears would be if you were listening to songs that aren't by famous people, and how, demos and that art that'd be fun for me. But what I'm saying is the goal, and I guess you fall short, and you can only kind of communicate what you want to communicate, and you can't really worry about the outcomes, and that's also very crippling, and I'm working on that. But the idea that if I do this the way I want, have I written at the top of my ability to speak, and speak in the big way? Am I speaking from the best part of myself, or am I speaking from a place where it's a potential to ring out, and that's where I guess 27 is at for me. In this episode of 27, I also think that, this is a slow build, and I guess moving forward and starting today, energy going into, I usually tape a certain day. Today I'm taping another day because my energy was low the day I usually taped, and I'm lucky that I have more time now that I'm belaboring the ankle injury. But now that I have more time, I am not under the gun. And as long as I meet my release deadline, then my record deadline is a little bit more flexible. But I made a decision that my energy was down, and I'm not coming here to do this if there's not a potential for me to be at, sort of my energetic best, or, I'm starting to coalesce ideas before I plug all this shit in. And, and then 27 is a theme, and I guess the number game is sort of helping. And so I also don't know if I'm saying anything incendiary. I don't intend to be that kind of person necessarily, but, sometimes to say what you mean can be controversial, or just speaking into a microphone and putting it on the web is asking for scrutiny. And so I want to be up to that task and mean what I say what I mean, and swing for the fences a little bit. I say that to people I've sort of aided, people who are writing things, and especially if they're writing fiction, is to swing for the fence. Don't, if you're writing memoir or you're writing material that is autobiographical, sure, you have to stick to the premises of your truth and your story. But when it's fiction, you can, have the character can have that affair. The character can tell his boss to go fuck himself. Page, why wait for page 15 to fucking tell you to take this job and shove it, and those would be, i.e. your inciting events have to happen sooner than later, and you're not saving it up. And so, and that's part of where I'm at now with the show is I have an open, and I'm already going to get rid of it because it's not, it's relying on a video introduction to be a wham bam, and it's relying on some goofy entrance, which is not wrong, but what comes out of my mouth first should probably not just be hey, welcome. You've seen it where you can win, and I haven't done Toastmasters or anything like that, but you don't go up there and say, hello, welcome to the real estate seminar. Okay, they know they're at a real estate seminar. Welcome to the Radisson in Missouri. They know where the fuck they are. So, like, a speechwriter would say, get them, say something. You want to sell houses? Boom, there's your first line, So, I'm going to sort of put some of that razzmatazz, that opening line being, either, start with a joke, they say, but what's the famous Magnolia scene? Respect the cock, right? Like that's how you get them, and what is your version think about the audacious entrances of characters that when you're doing a one-man show, that's you. So how are you going to be audacious there? In the days we sweated it out on the streets of a runaway American dream. Oh, that's a good opening line. My baby don't mess around. Like, that's a big opener. You think about Bonnie Raitt, who I put in that kind of category of a song that is a sung word. That song, I Can't Make You Love Me If You Don't, is to me a performance of an acting and singing. It's at a high level. It's up there with the Jennifer Holliday. It's up there with the Brando, John Malkovich in Burn This. That kind of, I think, seismic emotional connection of a song that it's going to hit. It's going to hit if you hate that genre, if you don't like her voice, if you don't. And then the first line of that song is turn down the lights, turn down the bed, turn down these voices inside my head. Lay here with me, tell me no lies, just hold me close. Don't compromise, or don't patronize. Sorry, don't patronize. I can't make you love me if you don't. The clarity of purpose is to get you hooked on that fucking song, get you hooked in that story. And songwriting, again, has the ability to capture it all real short. It's the newspaper writing of emotional, dramatic writing. So how do I start a one-man show with something that clear, that clarified, without it being an introduction, without, saying welcome? And now I'm thinking I got like a welcome to the fucking, like, I got to work on that. I got to work on the open. And, maybe work on a sort of, a trick, maybe work on it being a sermon, maybe work on it being set it in a fictitious way in a Radisson hotel in Albuquerque, or do something in my approach to the open to sort of say, pay attention, this is going to be good, and it's the best I got for you. So, and then, sometimes music also has they got the earworms that can start the song. And they also say that a pretty good example is there needs to be hooks in a pop song. There needs to be more than one hook. So the melody is what you're singing, and then there's and so, like, I think an example of that is Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman. So you got do 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 do. That's just the guitar hook, right? And then he comes in, pretty woman, walking down and that's a really cool fucking hook, a melody, And then he's got that bridge part where he goes, pretty woman, look my way. It's like 3 songs in one. And so I guess with a one-man show, you have to have the story you're telling literal. You have the story you're telling heart. You have the Also, why the directing is important. You have to have the story that you're telling in space, and I think those are the ways to hook an audience, is to have three, multiple. What do they tell you about living in America? Or, your financial health is better when there's multiple income streams. So maybe that's a weird analogy, because I'm mixing finance with art, but if there's got to be at least like 3 hooks in a song, 3 verses and 3 choruses and things like that, and then if there's got to be a 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end, that rule of threes in comedy, maybe some of that, and now I got to think about, like, I'm actually like eager to sign off here and get to work on reading it and seeing where the story within the story is going to be, where the tension is going to be created when I'm just one dude up there talking, because it can't just be unburdening. It can't be, I don't think it can't be confessional, so that you're up there fucking, saying crazy shit that you did, just to sort of be salacious, and that's always been an issue with me, is like, do I have enough fucking, do you need to be, I have a very fortunate existence, so where does my pain come from? Is my pain enough to elicit a dramatic arc? And maybe I need to finally bury this damn one-man show, my memoir, like, and start writing from a fictional, but infused with truthful sentiments. But like, if I can write, I got to tell myself to swing for the fences. So there's craft in everything, and that's where we're at. And I'm learning this. I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. I don't know that it's being transmuted. It's a difficult process to figure this shit out, and that's okay, right? That's what we're here to do. And so 27, the death session, we're working toward it. We're making progress in the physical therapy, and I can see maybe hopefully getting back on my feet, and how much I hate that you have to be hurt to really miss it, but I literally am staring at people walking in the park going, that lucky fuck. And that's basic, and that's true. And so I'm not gonna take for granted what it's gonna take to get back to that, and hopefully keep it, and to understand that time is fleeting. And also, one thing they say, things like, I don't know much about what was going on for them, but you've heard that sentiment from the old salty dog in entertainment or in music, or Star is Born kind of thing. Like, somebody must have said to Bruce, or somebody must have said to Brando, like, enjoy this, because you're never gonna be able to go through this again, even with all the triumphs after. Born to Run, then that was The River, then that was the Born in the USA was bigger than that. And so, he was never going to go from unknown to known, or unseen to seen, or underdog to winner, like Brando felt probably opening night or after the reviews came in on Broadway, and then later when the movie came out. Like, it's got to be heady stuff, but that revolution within you, it usually happens years before, and the pains I'm taking now, I pray for time to stand still, but also I want to get through this injury so that I can be back on my feet, literally walking and striding and having my gait back, and being obsessed with footwear to preserve the healing that I'm doing now, and taking better care of myself, and having this jump start. And so 27 going forward, my 27th year was a long time ago, but that idea of where are those forks in the road? Where are those moments of clarity? Where are those moments where a change is coming, where are those moments where you're gonna have to change? And that's always been a thing, is consistency. For me, I think I've blurred the lines. It's good to be consistent, and I know people appreciate my consistency, but you got to be careful. Have I been using the word consistency to stay put? Because the consistency is your efforts, your earnestness, your intellect, your passion, your instincts, those are the consistent things. But doing the same thing every day to lull yourself into the routines that are hard to give up and maybe stifling you, that's where I have to revisit the word consistent. Because you can consistently tell yourself no. You can consistently tell yourself it's going to be too hard. You can consistently tell yourself a lot of things. So, if language is a technology, really, if it's really just a tool, it's a blunt instrument. And so you can say denialish things, denial-based things where I'm consistent. I know one thing about myself. Remember those games you would play in group settings, leadership conferences, or just like you go in a circle so you can remember everybody's names in these group settings where so it would be like C, and I remember saying I'm consistently Carl. Got a big laugh because I had the I made a big word with a C and a C, and other people were like, I'm Marion, I'm from Maryland. Like, it's just like, I was constantly Carl, consistently Carl. And so language can be used to, tell, can be used for good or for bad. And it's now I'm started delving into what's my self-talk, because my self-talk refined would be what I want to say in my show. And why would I want to obviously not deny negative thoughts, because they're there, but like I wouldn't want to put out negativity in art. That doesn't mean not conflict. That doesn't mean not having harsh words. I curse a storm, but I'm talking about if the desire of my purpose is to be first person and talk about persistence in the arts past the point of any sanity. There has to be a consistency of writing to theme, but also knowing that I have to consistently break through patterns, right? So I don't know. My intention today was to say 27 make or break year for people. You either die and join the 27 club, or you have a great breakthrough. And I don't know that this episode is that, but the intention today was to sort of keep the energy up, keep throwing haymakers and not wasting people's time with low energy in the guise of sincerity. There's a lot of people bring it down, and I'm like, I'm just not that guy. So 27, the Death Sessions turned 27 episodes. So moving forward, I'm gonna bring the passion, and because why would I expect any eyeballs on this if there weren't a passionate person giving it down the pike? So thanks for paying attention, and we'll see you next week. And I got to figure out what the hell 28 means. All right, take care. Carl DeGregorio, Death Session 27. We're out.